Hey folks, it's Carlo from Secrets of Home Theater and Hi-Fi, and we're here at Munich 2024. It is 2024. Yes, it's 2024. And I'm here with Vivid Loudspeakers Chief Engineer and man about town, Laurence Dickie. And he's been gracious enough to give up some of his time to kind of have a chat with us and kind of talk a little turkey about his brand new speaker that they've just released called the Moya M1. So Laurence, thank you so much for the time, man. Really
thanks. Hello, it's really good to be here. Thanks.
Oh, no problem. So yeah, I just sat through the demo that you did with this this amazing speaker, and so I guess the first question that comes to mind is like the why behind it. And yeah, if you don't mind letting us know, that'd be great.
We're really pleased with the level of perfection that we've already achieved with Vivid Audio, with our Gear series loudspeakers, for instance. When people have asked us in the past, and they do, it tends to be US and Far Eastern customers, but they've said, when are you going to produce a more expensive loudspeaker? What? Is the G1S not expensive enough? Apparently
Does the world need one?
Well, yeah. Well, I would never produce something just to be more expensive. I mean, it has to be a real step forward. So as I say, I mean, I'm very happy with what we've already achieved. And the next level, to improve on a G1S, really the only way is bigger.
Right.
Moya takes the engineering excellence that we already have in the Gear range of speakers and builds on it and makes it bigger. Actually, the first prototype ideas, and it was just at the idea stage for Moya, was now we could probably call it a G0, so it was a double-sized Gear. But as we got into the project, and one thing led to another, and it became something entirely uniquely on its own. It's not part of the Gear series. It has all the technology of Gear, but by effectively jumping a step and going to 4 times its predecessor, it's out there on its own. And I'm actually really happy that we've taken that extra step, because, it has. There's something about a large loudspeaker. There's an effortlessness, and that's what it's all about to me. It's just that ease of delivery, and I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out.
That's amazing. I mean, I know just personally sitting through that demo, just some of the material you guys played, it was like, whoa. I mean, it top to bottom, it just seemed to handle everything without breaking a sweat. And there was that organ note at like 16 hertz that just kind of like scrambled your insides a little bit. That was like really, really impressive. So
Thank you.
well done. But in terms of the technology behind it, it's basically it's taking where sort of the Gaia, the G1 Spirit kind of was the top, and then pushes it even more beyond. And I know it uses like the multiple woofers on either side, but that's a force cancelling configuration?
Well, we've always, even going right back to our first product, the B1, we've always believed in using reaction cancelling mounts for the bass drivers, because we do believe in isolating the vibration, the intrinsic vibration of the driver from the enclosure, because you excite resonances and what. It becomes a little bit difficult at the bottom end if you use just like rubber mounts, but reaction cancelling absolutely works. And having done it once, I really would never produce a large loudspeaker without reaction cancelling.
Doing it again, right. The array of them on the sides, it's just that's got just. I mean, it's like I said, walking into it and seeing the thing, you're looking at it, and you're like, I mean, you're slightly in awe of the thing. It's just the magnitude of it.
It's pretty big. But the interesting thing is that folks have been coming in and saying, it's actually not as big as we expected from the brochure. There's something about the computer renders. I think we tend to view it from a slightly low angle, so it makes it seem bigger. In the flesh, of course, you're looking at it from a rather different perspective. And other people are saying, oh, well, actually, no, maybe it is manageable.
It's not that bad. But I was chatting with you forgive me, I forgot her name, but the lady in the green dress.
Gracia Bacco, yeah.
And she's one of the engineers.
Yeah, she works with me in the UK. I still live in the UK. My family is there. But I spend about a sixth of my life in South Africa. I'm going again in a couple of weeks.
That's where the manufacturing is done?
Yeah, that's where the manufacturing is done.
Right.
But we have a little R&D facility in the UK, and Gracia is part of that. We're right at the beginning. We're still very small, but I want to build on what we've got. I want young graduate engineers to come and join me, and Gracia is the first. I hope it goes on from here.
It sounds like how some little Formula One teams start out with tight knit group of really talented engineers, and then just sort of kind of gets bigger from there.
Yeah, well, and it's important actually. I've worked on my own for far too long, and it's really it's productive, beneficial, rewarding, all those things, to have other engineers with you, because you feed off each other. I always draw an analogy, I don't know, it's like lighting a fire with one stick. No. 2 sticks? No. 3 sticks? Starting to get there, because the radiation from each stick keeps the other ones warm. You get that, and it's the same with a bunch of engineers. We talk to each other, we bounce ideas off each other. Together, things
kind of feed off that inspiration. Yeah. So back and forth. Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. But she was explaining to me how as big as the Moya looks, it's not as heavy as you would think because of the construction, because it's got that similar sort of resin.
Yeah, well, we've always used vacuum infused composites. So the technique is that you have you have an open tool, you lay a layer of glass or carbon cloth into the mold, then you put a lightweight core and then another layer of glass or carbon, wrap the whole thing in a bag, evacuate it, and then allow the resin to infuse. And that way you get the best fiber fraction, or the minimum resin fraction, which means that it's light but incredibly stiff, and that's always been my watchword: light and stiff.
What probably was the most in the development of the whole of the Moya and everything? Was there like a most challenging thing that you had to overcome or to solve? Or
actually, having once decided on the format, and if you look around, you'll see pictures of the wooden prototype, and to all intents and purposes, the finished product is the same as the wooden prototype. The disposition of the drivers, the array of drivers is pretty much the same. The complication is in the crossover. Excuse me. Going from 4-way to 5-way with a passive filter is actually quite challenging, and the reason is that the bands towards the top, so the D50 band, has got a little bit narrow. And so whereas all the theory that tells us that a Linkwitz-Riley fourth order filter will pair with its corresponding low pass and high pass, will pair together and give a seamless summation, that assumes that there is nothing else happening for miles before or after. But when you start to get Linkwitz-Rileys in close proximity, actually they start to interact with each other, and that brought in a new level of complication, and it did take me quite a while to fathom how to get the crossover to sum perfectly, and we test it by reversing the phase of a driver and seeing how it also cancels perfectly. That's perhaps a little bit more detail than you need, but the point is that arriving at that optimum solution did actually take quite a while. I tend to go to South Africa, I'll work on one aspect of the problem at a time, as I say, and I usually spend between 10 days and 2 weeks. When it came to doing the crossover, which is only back in January, the final iteration of the crossover, I was there for 4 weeks. I had to extend my stay because it was really quite challenging, but I'm really happy with the results.
Oh, absolutely. So so obviously a lot of sweat work into the crossover, getting that where you wanted it. Any thought to? I mean, it's a hell of a speaker, and it's like definitely on
You're not looking for a bigger one, are you?
No, God, you're like, hell no. It's like, yeah, that's right. It's like my wife wouldn't divorce me already for like something half the size of that. But any thought to doing something like an active application?
Right. I mean, that's a whole field in itself. In effect, it was through the field of active loudspeakers that I got into loudspeaker work professionally, because it was on the back of my enthusiasm for active loudspeakers that I got into Bowers and Wilkins.
Right.
And indeed, the Nautilus was completely active, and when I joined Philip in South Africa, I expected to be making active loudspeakers. But Philip quite reasonably said, Dick, this is a country with no reputation in high-end audio. We're making a funny-shaped speaker. People are not going to go for it if it's also active. We have to produce, our first products have to be passive.
Right.
Now, it happened that new packages of software were becoming available to do network analysis and optimization, and that's an incredible tool. And I went from being really quite anti-passive, I found them just a bit old school,
right,
to really appreciating that with this approach you could in fact make crossovers with incredibly accurate transfer characteristics. You can set a target function and match it within a quarter of a decibel quite easily. Anyway, in 2012, we thought it's about time. At the back of my mind, I thought, this passive stuff's great, but really, ultimately, active is probably still better. So in 2012, we were working with some Swedish chaps who'd got this lovely new 2-in, 8-out digital speaker management system, and actually, the first try, it was just laughable. The active was just nowhere near the passive. No, and I thought, okay, I had been using their routines to set the thing up. So I thought, okay, let's just mimic exactly the passive filter shapes, again, within a quarter of a dB. And then we came to doing some A/B tests, ABX tests actually, because it was completely blind. And we could not tell the difference. We could not tell the difference. And at that point, I just turned to Philip and I said, you know what, Philip? The only people who gain out of this malarkey are the amplifier makers. And we don't make amplifiers. So why should we do it?
Oh.
So that was at that point, I decided, no, forget it. Forget active. More recently, people have been asking why we don't do Bluetooth speakers, or some sort of
Okay.
self-contained, like a little S12. It's sort of understandable. But and I did actually entertain the proposition, but then it began to strike me. The trouble is that as soon as you build electronics into the speaker,
what happens?
One component has to fail, and after a while, it becomes
just becomes like almost like another commodity sort of thing. Yeah.
So the poor little things would end up in the garage gathering dust before they ended up in landfill. And I thought, actually, no.
I'll just wrap up with it.
Yeah. A passive speaker, really, there's no reason why it shouldn't last for donkey's years.
Right.
So if we, keep the passive crossover, have a little active module, maybe that slides underneath, And it's not really. Then it becomes a powered speaker, of course,
Right.
and by some people's definition. Yeah, we could probably think about doing that. But actual active speakers, no.
No,
Weirdly, we seem to have come full circle on that.
It's funny how that works out. Oh my gosh. Well, Laurence, thank you so much, man, for the time. I really do appreciate it because
That's
it
fine.
looks like there's a ton of people who are like trying to get you going
Well,
here, there, and everywhere. So
Yeah, I don't know what Avot wants. What's it? Does he want you or me?
no, I think you wanted
What's
you.
the room?
Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering if I was still filming, but
Okay.
No, but it's no worries. But thank you so much for the time, man.
Absolute pleasure.
Really do
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
worries.
So,
Hey.
and well, kick-ass work on that thing.